All right, so our special guest today is Ryan Reed. So
and
let's
that's
jump.
not my phone number. That's the office phone number.
Yeah, that's
here,
what we do.
Okay.
We don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. You can get my number out. So
No, I just want. That's what we always.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Okay,
Mike.
so now next is who else are you going to
Just
give a hard
remember
time
he's
to this
I'm
week?
not going to be asked back. Apparently,
Can we make
Ryan
Ryan
a-
would you please? Let's go.
Ryan's on the podcast once a month moving forward.
All right,
Hey,
well,
Mike, can you scoot over a little bit? There's not enough room here. So.
all right. So I reached out. Well, I mean, the whole theme today is negotiating, and I reached out to Ryan Reed a couple weeks ago to have him on. He's one of the most popular guests that we have, and one of the things that I appreciate the most about Ryan is just his negotiating prowess and his ability to negotiate, but his ability to teach people how to negotiate. Because going back to the whole leads, it is not leads you need. It's that skill set to negotiate these leads. And I know him and I will stop each other in the hall and we'll share like these stupid stories of these other agents that we're just coming across. So I just want to welcome him in, and we're going to talk about negotiating tactics. And let's start with the first one, Ryan.
Thanks for having me. By the way, I didn't get to say that when I sat down. It's always a joy.
That typo at the end, that's a my bad. I tried to get rid of the hyphen, and so I'm gonna, and I am Nick. I don't know if I ever said this. All these typos that I have,
They're my fault. We know.
No, it's my laptop. Like,
Sure.
Because the keys stick.
Yeah. Whatever's not Mikey's fault directly. I mean, we can.
Well, I'm just saying this is an Apple problem. So I am this week getting a brand new laptop because I'll sit there and type and like keys won't hit, and then I'll smash the key, and then I'll get 3 Ks.
So at the end, we're gonna have a GoFundMe account for him to get a newer laptop to make sure.
Crap, that's a
Calm
great
down, calm
idea.
down. I do want to. I get a text from someone, Ryan. They wanted me to make sure I said this out loud. Ryan did tie for top coach last year, so Ryan does know what he's talking about. Everybody, he didn't get rookie of the year at a technicality, but he did tie for top coach last year. Yeah.
I like to give Nick a hard time. That was
He
that
does.
was a poke actually for that. So one of the things I think what's really important in any kind of negotiation, whether it's buyer or seller side, is active listening and asking specific questions. One of the things, understanding what a seller needs if you're representing the buyer, is listening to that agent, right? And some of them, as you guys probably all experience, will talk a lot. Right. And you just let them go. Right. Let them keep talking because they're going to tell you probably more than you would have asked. Now, some agents that are trained are not going to. Right. They know better. And so you have to be able to ask good questions. Part of that is listening. One of the simplest questions is, why is the seller needing to sell this property? I'm listening for, well, they're moving, or their family's getting bigger, or, maybe they're having some financial issues. I'm listening for those things. That seller's agent is most likely going to tell me half of why they actually want to sell the property. If I can hear that, they're in a position where they have another home under contract, right? Maybe they wrote a contingent offer, those kinds of things. I will try to listen. I'll ask them like point blank. If I get an agent that's quiet, I'll just keep on asking them questions until I can tell they're fed up with me. And even at that, I'm going to ask a few more questions because they might just want to get me off of the phone if I keep asking. So those are some of the questions I ask for. One of the ones that I ask for that people are kind of surprised with, I say, does your seller have any maintenance records on this home? And they'll kind of look at me like, well, what does that have to do with this? And for me, it's finding out, did this person take care of the home? Or maybe the home is kind of in disrepair and that they might be hurting financially, so they are needing to sell the home because they can't afford it. And that's not a question, that's not an answer that you're going to get just from a conversation with them. Hey, why do they need to sell? Right. And then I should have said this again. You have to, agents, you have to talk to the listing agent on the phone.
Definitely.
Do not write an offer until you talk to them on the phone. And I've had agents where they only are texting. They say, hey, listen, I have a client. We're ready to write an offer, but you and I need to talk on the phone, right? Because what you hear in their voice is you're going to pick up a lot on, right? You're going to tell if that person is like, oh man, this seller really needs to get this sold, right? You're going to hear it in their tone. And so again, you might be asking these questions of people that you don't get to hear that. But that is something that's really important on either side of it. And understand from a seller standpoint, you're protecting your seller. So be careful what you say.
So a couple weeks ago, I told you the story about that one agent wanted the whole financial background check of my buyer for a $550,000
the prequel
listing. Yeah,
and
did I tell you what happened when we walked in?
No.
Oh my gosh! So the agent decides he ends up calling me Sunday morning and grilling me with questions because he just had to know about my buyer, and I'm like, it's a $550,000 listing, bud. I mean, it was the $30 million listing. I get it.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
So we show up. He's got to meet us there. So I show up and we walk in. And he goes, hey, the renters just moved out. We're cleaning. I know it doesn't look like much. I know the listing's probably high, so just make us an offer. We haven't even looked through the house, and the house just went on the market. So I have one strategy. Like if we're going on a Saturday and the house went on the market on Friday, there's my negotiation strategies are different than when it's been on the market for 80 days.
Yeah.
And so he goes, so then I'm texting him later on that week. I go, hey, we're submitting an offer. And he goes, how low? And I told him the price. And he replies back, he goes, ouch. I go, bud, I'm just going based on what you said when I walked out of the house. So now we've gone through all these inspections. It's on a well, shared well. It's got some roof issues. It's got this. It's got that. My inspection period ends this Wednesday. The co-listing agent calls me on Saturday. He goes, I know we have till this Wednesday, but our sellers are really eager to get this done. I'm like, I didn't even have to ask everything that you're just saying.
Yep.
I didn't even have to do. And I'm like, does your seller know how much money that they've just cost them? But
and I think I say this every time I'm on this podcast. Not all agents are created equal. Like, and I scream that from the rooftop when I'm talking to buyers or sellers.
So let me ask you
work with
this:
professionals.
when you are on the listing side, and I'm calling you, and because you and I use,
I can't wait for me to be on listening side and you call me.
dude. Oh my god!
When it happens, I will be on the
Make sure you
podcast the next
record it.
week.
Record it.
We should just negotiate on the
Great
podcast.
idea. Oh my gosh, that's a great idea.
It's the best podcast
we'll have
ever.
To, we'll have to schedule
But
that one.
what are you trying to avoid saying? And
as much as possible. I mean, truly, like, it's a good question, Mike. Like, I'm going to tell them about the house. I'm going to tell them what I know to be true, what I know to be accurate about the home. But when it comes to the seller and their desires, well, their desire is to sell the home for the most amount of money in the shortest period of time. Isn't that what every seller wants?
Exactly.
Right. And that's why I literally just flip it back on the buyer's agent if they're asking questions. And I say, hey, listen, write your best offer and my client will review it and then we'll let you know where we stand.
How do you handle the question of, are you sitting on any offers right now? Do you have any offers?
Yeah. If I have had an agent say they're writing an offer, but I haven't received it, I let them know that. And I'm very candid. Like I laugh. I'm like, hey, just like everybody says, there's other people interested. I've had one agent that has viewed the home twice, and they said they're working on an offer.
So when you and I are going head to head, and you're on the listing side, this is how it's going to be. I'm going to call you up. I'm going to say, any offers, and you're going to be. We all have to be truthful. If there are no offers, I'm just going to hang up. I'm going to lowball the crap out of you. Not pick up the phone and just say, "Hey, does your seller want to make a deal or not?" That's how I'm going to handle you.
Yeah, just remember, just
and I'm going to let my seller know that this agent you shouldn't work with.
Yeah, there's a little few clues there, but yeah, just to make sure everybody listening is on the same page, the decision to share that you do have offers on a particular property is a required permission authority from the seller. So in essence, it's in the listing contract. So if you didn't ask them, then realistically, you're not authorized to say that there's any offers on the property. The only thing that's statutorily you're responsible for is if you have a accepted contract on the property, then you do have to disclose it.
Yep.
All right, preparation and market knowledge.
So I feel like one of the things that I've seen a lot with agents on the other side is that they don't actually know the market, meaning they don't know that neighborhood. And especially when I receive, let's say on the seller side, when I receive an offer from a buyer's agent and they extremely lowball, but they went over some major crossroads, to pull those comps to justify their offer. So that's one of the things that I think is just so important, is to understanding like what is an actual comp. One of the things that we like to do is go to as many appraisal classes as possible. Like we
Yeah.
even had one. We brought in an appraiser to have conversations with agents. We had it open to all the agents, and it's because I want to understand what an appraiser is looking for, because I'm not only thinking about the negotiation right now, but I'm thinking about getting it to the appraiser and them also saying, yeah, this met value or didn't, right? And so one of the things, on the buying side is I'm looking and trying to find as close to a comp as I can within that neighborhood, not crossing any major roads, so that I can help my buyer see either, hey, yeah, this is a good price range where it's listed at, or, here's where the comps are coming at. Here's a range in which I would suggest you write an offer at. Ultimately, this is your decision, buyer, but like you got to understand those comps and what's that mean, and what is an appraiser going to look at. So I spent a lot of time with our buyer guide and just buyer consultations of helping them understand the whole process so that they know what to expect, and also that they can be a strategic buyer in when they write offers. And
So many buyers agents think their job is to help the buyer get a better deal on a home. That's honestly not the job at all. The fair market value is whatever a willing buyer and a willing seller are willing to negotiate. But your job, the purpose of comparables, is for you to identify something that is sold similar to as close to that property as possible in that neighborhood.
Yep.
And what did it sell for? Because and then share that with the buyer that here's the most recent sale of a home similar in this neighborhood. Hopefully they'll come to the realization they want to pay more than that, but they have the right to.
Yeah. So a couple of things that I look at is, when I do my comps, I look at, has that neighborhood and the sellers in the neighborhood offered concessions? How many of those closed comps in the last 3 months, 6 months have offered concessions, right? So I let my buyer know that, hey, listen, doesn't mean that they're going to be willing to, but we're seeing a lot more of that. Half of this neighborhood, the sales in the last 3 months offered concessions.
And a list price to sell price reduction.
That's literally I'm going. So I go average days on market, right? When are they closing? At what point in their days on market have they been going under contract at? So if we see a listing that's been on 60 and the neighborhood is going under contract around 60 days, I say that this seller's probably potentially in a good position to be ready to accept an offer, even if it is a little bit lower. And then that next one is that the average list to close ratio in percentages. And so I help them understand what's that mean, like what list price were they at to what they actually sold at. That helps us see what direction that neighborhood's going in price wise, right? And it'll help me to tell the selling agent, hey, listen, we're coming in at this offer. This is what the neighborhood's been doing, and we're coming in at right what the neighborhood's doing. You listed a little higher, but you probably should have listed a little bit lower, or right at what the other ones have been closing at. And so those are a couple of things that we do, just that preparation and market knowledge, and that's why I feel like I've had a lot of success in buying and selling throughout the years.
Well, I know right now we're focused on being on the buyer's side right now, and I know the answer to this question. But those last pieces of information would help agents who are going into listing appointments.
I literally take that same exact
Right.
approach with 5 other things with it too. So
If you're a listing agent and you get an offer and your seller is shocked that the buyer's asking for seller concessions, that's an on you, because I haven't done an offer on either side of the table this calendar year that hasn't had some sort of concessions in it. And that is just the constant battle. Like the numbers don't lie.
yeah.
And sometimes we allow our sellers to get caught up in the emotions, and I'm emotionally attached to this house, and this is what I think the home's worth, and this is what Zillow's saying. Here are the numbers.
One of the things I should have said in that active listening and calling is, one of the questions I ask is, hey, this is a seller agent, I'm the buyer's agent. Hey, did you have a conversation with your seller about concessions and how this market has lots of concessions happening, especially in your neighborhood? That's a question I ask all the time. And you can see people are like surprised by it. I'm like, ooh, we're going to have a fun time on this one.
All right. Framing and positioning.
Yeah. So framing and positioning, your words matter. I mean, we're professionals. We have a license, so what you write in a contract matters, right? But like, for example, I wrote down, it's not just what you offer. It's how you present it. For example, instead of saying we're 15,000 under ask, you might frame it as we're presenting a clean, non-contingent offer with a 15-day close priced appropriately for current comps. So this helps shift the benefit to that seller versus, and you have to think about this, you're going to be signaling to that seller's agent, and they're going to now be communicating hopefully that same thing in a better light. Because when you deal with people that aren't doing that, you kind of have to, I say, spoon feed some agents what you want them to express to that seller in the offer that's being sent. So I will literally, when we send an offer out, I will take a couple of the homes that I called comparable, and I'll drop either the MLS link into it or just the addresses for that agent, just so that they know where we're coming from. And if I needed to give any explanation why I believe that was a comp, I do so.
Yeah, I think the wording is key, and it's funny. I do exactly that, but hadn't really realized that I do that.
Yeah.
Like, like consciously, like training people
Just
on
becomes
that.
something you normally do.
But when every email when I'm sending over that offer, and just don't send it through transaction desk
my
with no
gosh.
context, right?
That should be illegal.
Unless it's a full price offer, above price offer,
No concessions.
no concessions, no
10-day
nothing.
close, no
Right.
inspection. Yep.
But yeah, I'm carefully wording like of how I got to this point.
Yes.
But for people that it would be, and I hadn't done this, but that would be a great thing for a lot of people who say, "Hey, I'm not really a wordsmith."
Yeah.
Throw it through a ChatGPT.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
Give it the instructions. Like, I'm representing the buyer in this. We are $15,000 below list price. I mean, that thing can do some stuff.
I'm going to tell you right now, if you're not using AI, you are going to probably not be in business in 20 years.
So about a year ago, I started challenging the answer. So in essence, when it gave me that answer, I would then say, now, what are the top 5 things that a seller who receives this offer might object about?
Yep.
And boom, it gives you those. And now you're really super prepared for what's going to happen on the other side. But I just wanted to talk about packaging of your buyer, which is the offer that you send over. And framing is a term that says if somebody says things one way, you want to change the way it's been said to get a different perspective on that same identical basic premise. So that's real important to basically understand. But here's what I want you to take away. You are controlling, and so Ryan, you are controlling the narrative to the listing agent, not just of what you are trying to position them to come to the realization of, but we have to understand 90-something% of the time, they're going to take that, and that's what they're going to be saying to their seller because they don't know their business.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's huge. Like managing expectations, right? We were kind of talking about that earlier. Like if you're managing that expectation with the seller, telling them what to expect, right? I'm managing the expectation with this agent now. I'm saying to him or her, hey, listen, this is where I'm at, what I found. Here's what my clients are willing and ready to do. Like let's do business, right? You want to sell it, they want to sell it, my buyer wants to buy it. Let's manage this expectation of how we got to where we're at. And if you're not managing expectations in your business with your clients, you probably don't enjoy real estate as much as I do.
Well, I've just always maintained the true secret to happiness is expectations management. Expectations. Let everybody know what they can
aspect of your
expect of
life.
you, and just know what you can expect of other people. And that's on my shrink show, my shrink podcast later on today.
Down button.
Yeah.
I'll be a guest on that one too. Strategic concessions offer small wins to achieve large gains. This is thinking about, I will tell my buyers, we are going to push hard in the beginning, right? We're going to negotiate hard in the beginning because coming and trying to negotiate during the inspection period, you're less likely in, the 120 plus transaction I've done. Usually we don't get more during the inspection period. Now, things that are, health and safety, those bigger ticket items, we generally do, but that we can't assume that we're going to get more money during the Binzer period, right? And if that's what that buyer's banking, I want to manage those expectations. Like we're gonna on the front end of this, we're going to look at the strategy of let's ask for as much in concessions as would serve you best, right? Now, if we get less than that, then you have that choice before we, agree to it, to go under contract or not, right? But don't try to go get more money during that inspection period to try to better your strategic concession that you tried in the beginning, right? So that's one of the things that's just important. And I'll tell my buyers, like, okay, look, I looked at the comps. The home is listed well, or hey, the home is actually listed under, right? And you are asking for 3%, or maybe you're asking for more. I had one that was asking for 4%, and I said, listen, I prepped my client to understand that they may get some concessions, my seller, but what you're asking for is more than anyone else in this neighborhood, almost by double. What if we change the purchase price to cover that? Obviously, within reason, we need it to still appraise. But from what I'm seeing some comps. Are you seeing some comps? That's that strategy of working with that buyer's agent, if you're the seller's agent, and say, hey, how do we make this work so it makes the most sense to my client, my
Without
buyer?
giving away confidential information.
Exactly.
I want to get into the next one because I want to end with some dialogue. So, patience and emotional control.
So in negotiation, if you are not being patient, right, you're going to give away something. So if you, and this is what I say, if you're desperate for a sale, you're going to do what's best for you and not what's best for the client. And we owe our clients a fiduciary duty, and it is not to do what's best for us. So I tell agents all the time that you should think about having a part-time job. If this is not something that you can do sustainably, have a part-time job so that you're not so desperate for a sale that you don't do what is best for your client. So having that patience is so important, and understanding that you may have done this 100 times, but your clients do this once, twice, maybe 3 times in their lifetime if you're lucky. So I always, when I go back to new buyers, new sellers, or haven't done it in a long time, I go back to the basics with them, and I make sure. So I have that patience to educate them, not be frustrated when they're asking me questions that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so simple, right? And that emotional control is to not say too much. Like I said, you get agents that start to take things personally. Like, my offer is not personal. It's not against you. It's just where my buyer's at and what they wanted me to do. And when a seller declines, it's just where my seller's at. I don't get emotional with other agents. And I have a really great relationship with a ton of agents because of the way I carry myself, the way I handle conversations with them. And that's just because of the patience and the emotional control and getting down to the root of what's going on in the situation, right? Just truly understanding, truly caring. Like, we both got a buyer and a seller that have some desires here that need to be met. Can we come up with something that's going to work for both of them or not? I don't get emotionally involved in the sense of like mad that the sellers didn't do what my buyers wanted them to do.
Yeah, I think with emotions though, a lot of it just comes with when we don't do the upfront work of managing our buyers' emotions and expectations. Now, sometimes just buyers just out of control. I've had those where I've done everything and they just cannot see reason and they just become emotional. But you have to just do the work up front, letting them know, what to expect. What's this process going to be look like? And what you've seen, I think, for you, and that's what I always tell people on teams, doesn't matter what team that they're on, leverage your team's stories. Like, if I'm walking with a buyer, this is what we're seeing on our team, and it is what it is. But what I wanted to get into as we wrap things up is I'm very big on before I put pen to paper, transaction desk, but before I'm actually submitting an offer, even before I'm getting on the phone with that listing agent and starting my negotiations, of doing a little bit of homework on the property itself, the seller themselves, and that other agent.
Yeah, absolutely. I look at the history of the property. When was it? When did they buy it? How much potential equity do they have in it? Like, knowing all aspects of that. I look at the agent, see how many transactions they've done in the last 12 to 24 months. You guys have access to rapid stats. I go look at that. Am I dealing with somebody that's dealing in this price range normally, in this area normally? All of those aspects will help me look them up online. What are their clients saying about them? Like, look at their reviews, that agent's reviews, to know what kind of agent they are. And so it's important, right? And that's why, like I tell agents when they're new to the business, you got to get on a team, right? You got to have people that you can go, hey, this is being asked. Like, what do I do? How do I handle this? And you got to become an expert in your field, right? Like in negotiations, I've read a ton of negotiation books, listened and taken all of the classes you could take for negotiation inside of real estate. And so those are all important aspects to the transaction and to a successful one where everybody is winning.
All right. So then taking it full circle, and I want to give you a minute or two to talk about your team. But when we did the 3-pack, that's why I was excited that you were on the 3-pack, is now here's the difference of listening to how Ryan Reed negotiates, what his thought strategies are, how he's closing deals, how he's working with his buyers and sellers and having those conversations. And during the 3-pack, we said they're just flat out agents that just, I need leads. There's the contrast. This is, you don't join Ryan Reed's teams because you have to have leads. You join Ryan Reed's team and Kevin for that value because you want to learn how to build your SOI. All of this stuff here is negotiating with our SOI as well. So I'll give you a last word.
Yeah. No, thank you. Valley Home Group, we obviously have leads, but I tell agents they're not the end all be all. They're something that just allows you to pick up business occasionally. But truly, we want to teach agents how to work their sphere of influence because it's gonna be the area where they have the most success, right? And I tell agents, I don't care if you're young, you can have a sphere of influence that you're educating, and when the right time is, they'll make a move. And you can also be building a sphere of influence that is people that are interested in buying or selling. We have a 19-year-old agent who's got one under contract, got a new listing coming in, and he's done like 3 or 4 buyer consultations. He's just he's getting out there and hustling. He's doing open houses. He's meeting people. He's talking about real estate. And so I would just encourage anyone like that is struggling in real estate, go back to the basics of your sphere of influence. And if you don't know how to work it, please set up some time with me. Go to valleyhomegroup.com and go find me on there. There are my emails on the screen. Shoot me an email. I'll set up some time with you and I'll give you a quick overview of what you could do to get back to the basics.
Well, I would say for any agent looking to grow their business, I couldn't. You'd be in good hands with your team, and so
the more flash anything is, and the less meat. That's usually, and let's face it, we're all human beings, and let's look at it from a human behavioral perspective. We all want the low-hanging fruit that's going to turn into a deal. The problem is they rarely do.
Well, Nick needs the low-hanging fruit because that's all he can reach. Dude, I finally got it in.
I was waiting.
I thought we were going to get one where you did not.
He didn't earlier, so I knew what he was thinking.
All right, so last question. So when that time does come, and you and I are going head to head, do we come out as friends, or we're just so knee deep in these conversations we're going to be ticked at each other?
Well, like I said, I manage expectations, so you'll know on the front end that we'll still be friends. You might not like where I negotiated you to, but we'll still be friends.
I'm so excited for this.
I negotiated.
So excited.
Too.
I can't wait.
Oh, the gauntlet has landed.
All right. Leave everybody with the quote of the day. Every showing, every call, every no gets you closer to your next yes. Everybody doing us today, go out